like if kids just start to talk and they start to get to know Russian or any other language, and they can do English at the same time, they
Mm.
wouldn't think that it's a foreign language. And there is a whole big method which is called method say, like it's a Russian person who created this. And you just talk to this mm, little kid in English only, but it takes really long for this kid to say phrases. Hi,
Hey, hello.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. What about you?
Me too. So,
Oh,
how is your staying in Turkey?
yeah. I'm in Turkey now. I would say unfortunately because I have to live all my life in Russia because of current events. Yeah, but now it's better. Yeah,
Glad to hear. Okay.
yeah. So and yeah, last time we met, you told me that you were in Turkey and you were in different places in Turkey. So, and did you have a chance to get to know Turkish culture or something connected to that?
Well, yeah, I had a great chance to do that. I even wanted to move there because I had kind of relationships there,
Hmm.
and I had this experience of Turkish family. I also had great experience with my Turkish friends even while I was living in China. They like made me know this culture more closer. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, what exactly can you tell about Turkish culture? How is it different from our culture, for example?
Well, as we already discussed, Turkish are very hospitable and they look very friendly, though these days, some of my friends and students who moved to Turkey, they say that they have been to some occasions with Turkish people and that's not quite well. Like the result was kind of stressful, like all of this apartment things, prices,
Mm-hmm.
inflation. But, mm, but yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed this hospitality too. They are always willing to help. So even when you go to the shop, for example, they will never give you a stinking eye, or they will never, I don't know, just look at you in a weird way because you don't speak Turkish, for example. And yeah,
I
but
can't say so.
say again?
I can't say so. Like now that you are speaking Turkish, I don't know which level you are, but do they look at you in a different way? I mean, when I try to speak Turkish to them, they're like, "Oh my God, you're Russian, and I don't have to use Russian to talk to you." And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, when, for example, yeah, you don't use Turkish with them, they don't look at you in a weird way, so they are totally okay with that. There are some cultures that don't like when you don't talk with them in their native language, but Turkish people are okay with that. I'm trying to learn Turkish. I'm not at the level where I can have a I'm not fluent, but I can speak about whether I can tell a little bit about myself and what I did in the morning, for example, but not more than that. I struggle a lot, I would say.
"Yeah, you told me about your English experience. Like you want to sound either perfect or like nothing."
No, it's not like that, but yeah, I'm not perfect and I still want to share the way I speak English. It's not like all or nothing thing, but yeah, I want to perfect this language, that's for sure. And I'm trying to do that. And those podcasts that I do with people, those talks are the part of the process.
Yeah. So how do you want to use Turkish in your further life? Like, I mean, I was just trying to learn it for myself or living there, but I don't see anything like what I can do with that, you know?
Yeah, the same to be honest, but it helps me with teaching and learning English too because now I'm a student, and I'm a student of very low level, and it helps me to be in the same boat with my students. So I understand, like, people probably struggle with this usually. So maybe I should choose a different strategy of teaching beginners, like this kind of thoughts it gives me.
Yeah, that's kind of nice experience to learn another language, which is maybe similar to English or any language you teach. So you can be on the same plate and just understand what kind of problems can students face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So are you learning any other languages right now apart from
Yeah.
Turkish?
Yeah, well, as I studied in China, I also studied Chinese, but I don't really enjoy it. And all the people, when they get to know, like, oh, you're speaking like Chinese and say something in Chinese, and
Mm-hmm.
just like saying a phrase, that's it. And I always say that I don't really enjoy that, and they didn't bring me any opportunities really. Okay, to be honest, I'm studying for with a scholarship now in China. But anyway, it's not like the best thing I could have in my life for now, as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So Chinese, I can speak, which I don't really enjoy again. And I started to study Armenian.
Mm.
I'm also thinking about Georgian so I can know a few phrases when I travel there, as we discussed, maybe
Mm-hmm.
go there by car.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you find it more useful because you can travel there and actually communicate with people?
Yeah, Armenian looks even more useful than Georgian. I'm not really familiar with Georgia overall, but there are many Armenians even in Russia. So I can
Mm-hmm.
even visit like for some, yeah, maybe at some companies where I represent my services of teaching English. I can use Armenian too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So do you mean that you can teach Armenian people too?
Yeah, I think I do. Uh, Having experience in Celta, I had this kind of talking to different groups of people. Well, some of them were Asians, some Middle Asian, some were Americans. Okay, maybe not Americans. They used to live in America. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly where they're from. So, and these different like culture experience in teaching to a group of different cultures was like quite good. It it's more interesting even for students. I mean, if there is a
Mm.
chance to make this kind of group, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be like a cultural exchange.
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah, I was
great.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
When people
Uh,
move,
yeah, by the way, are you CELTA certified?
sorry.
Do you have a CELTA certificate?
Yeah, yeah, I'm SELTA
Mm-hmm.
certified,
Yeah.
and I had it like 2 years ago. But I can tell you that it was a super intensive course, a super intensive course. It lasts for 1 month only.
Mm.
But I was studying starting from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. studying
It's
and
like full
teaching.
time.
Yeah, it's real full time. But the worst thing is after 6 p.m. I could not have lessons just to make some money for a living. I had to do my homework and I had
Mm-hmm.
to create the lessons, which I hated because I had to use textbooks, which I never used.
Yeah, yeah. So, and my question is, was it worth it?
Not really. No, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot say that. I'm not the person who likes exams or that kind of intensive courses where you're just stressed out. I just hate that. And I make my students feel relaxed on the classes too, so they could get new knowledge just within this, like swine. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So you mean like you don't like textbooks and just fill in the brackets type of tasks, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the same. I think language is better to be learned in a like natural environment, in a just during speaking or just talking about simple stuff, reading, watching videos, this kind of stuff.
You're right. And since I was teaching only individually, I do the same now though. I didn't find it useful to teach groups, but it was a nice experience that now if I want to start teaching peers or in groups, that's kind of useful.
Hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
started to use the books because I found that they are good books and that there are many texts which students can listen to, the many like videos in the books, not only just text for listening. And yeah, I started to use that as practicing the topics we learn. Like I make it simple while explaining grammar, but then I need something to work with. Like
Mm-hmm.
apart from word wall games, I just use New English 5 books. And now, as I know, New English 5, like pre-intermediate, intermediate levels, this kind of
Mm-hmm.
books. I started to use like books for uh, like tourism industry, for business, and started to add some maybe topics from those ones.
Ah, okay, okay. So yeah, so you use books from time to time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
because
but I never understand when people just say, okay, now you are zero, and we start an elementary book until we go till the end of this book. Like,
mm,
it won't become an A2 level student.
uh-huh.
So sometimes teachers make it very complicated for students, like having only the book, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes, not that interesting when it comes to lessons. No motivation as the grown-ups. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I think if people use books, it should be used as a tool, not as a like process itself. It should be something supplementary rather than just other because otherwise it's just a chore that your students do. It's just I don't know, like in schools, for example, uh, yeah, they go by the book and there is no wiggle room, so you cannot study anything but that, and they don't have enough time for practice. I think maybe it's even a bit lazy to go just by the book because it should serve as the way to explain stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe to practice, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought about CELTA myself actually, but yeah, I just don't like the price because it costs how much, like more than $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, twice more.
Yeah, like 2,000.
Yeah, in
Oh
rubles
my
it
God.
cost me 120,000.
Hmm.
So, but it was 2 years ago again. Well, if there is a chance, if you're staying in Turkey now, I recommend you to do like it in a different country. I mean, you can even go to a Turkish center because they never speak Turkish, they never speak Russian, they speak only English.
Hmm.
And my experience was that like there was a British, I don't know, professor. Was she just a Celta teacher, a Delta teacher? Never know. And a Russian guy who could speak English, and he was working in a Celta, I don't know, school in
Hmm.
Rostov-on-Don.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
So they spoke only English, and you can go for a Turkish one. Why not? You will have a good experience teaching not Russians, but teaching Turkish. Because you cannot
Ah.
use your language on the lessons. You can teach even elementary students only in English.
Okay. Yeah, I've never thought about that. I've always thought that the most effective way to teach beginners is to teach them in their native language because it's just faster. You can translate stuff very quickly, explain stuff as quickly. But you can teach foreigners, like foreign beginners, even if they're like 5 years old. But it's just the matter of efficiency, how much time it will take to teach a 5 years old who doesn't share the same native language with you. I think maybe 3 times more if you have if the teacher, if the native teacher is really good. If not, maybe even more. So that's part of the reason why I only teach Russian people because it's just more effective.
I would make an international group, but only for those who are B2, so they could learn. something from each other, like some phrases. We tend to use the phrases, the expressions we have in our own language. For
Hmm.
example, everything happens to the best. If we have it in
Hmm.
Russian, then we hear the same phrase in English, and it sounds like literal translation. Then they
Yeah.
just go for it and use it. But if they like a stupid example, it's raining cats and dogs, they will
Yeah,
never
yeah.
use it. And when they look at it, they say, "What?"
I never ever use it because
Yeah,
I don't like to learn phrases that don't make sense to me, and I don't usually teach them because it's very hard to use them just in the field. For example, you're talking to a non-native person, and he doesn't know everything. And even, for example, if you go to from one location in the UK to another location, the phrases and dialect will change drastically, and people might not understand what you mean. So you have to be very careful with this quirky,
right.
interesting phrases. Yeah, I think it's better to master basics. And
Yeah,
even if you use them, I think it's better to explain them afterwards.
that's true. Uh, that's true. Well, I also noticed that when people study English, like what? Okay, let's see. When Russians study English, 99% that they will use it with non-native speakers. Only if they move to an English-speaking
Yeah.
country, yeah. But uh, I don't use English talking to native speakers because I had one native speaker in my life who I had to talk to every day. I remember my boyfriend in China, and
Hmm.
that's it. Like, I never had a chance to really talk to native speaker. Not talking
Ah,
about English, right?
where was he
So,
from? From the UK? From the US?
yeah, was from the UK, and
Huh.
yeah, that was all I could gather from him. Like the idea that I don't really have to know many tenses. I don't need to know many phrases really. I just need to be like understandable. I need to
Yeah.
know the basic instructions, and that's it. And that's why I started to teach like spoken English myself. I don't really care how I sound. Like I'm trying to sound like a native speaker. I don't even know
Hmm.
who, an American or British. But I make my students think that they just have to know the basics and they don't need the phrases. Like maybe they need to understand some logic of the constructions, like the construction there is, they are, like
Hmm.
for us it's different, or that I am Diana, or like
Hmm.
why do you need to use am, right? So they need to understand that, to understand the logic, to start thinking in English. Nothing more, really. It takes like a few months.
Well, I wouldn't say like it takes a few months because it depends on, yeah, how deep you want to dive into this. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah. I mean, to start thinking in English, to start
well,
talking, to know that.
yeah. To be honest, really, it's so tricky for me to talk about time when I'm asked, for example, how much time will it take to learn the language? I'm like, well, it depends. There are so many factors you have to take into account.
Well,
So,
I agree. You mean when your students ask you how much time
yes.
would? Well, but you can say in advance that if you want this one, this level, you can gather this in a few like months. But if you want to be as fluent as I am, it will take you like a year if you're gonna watch really many films.
Okay, yeah. But again, like you don't know how much time it will take to learn English for this particular person uh, until you start teaching them because people just learn very differently. Some people are really talented. Some people can take it like a duck to water. They are very quick learners, and some people struggle a lot, just because, for example, how disorganized they are, or maybe just because of I don't know, just their way of learning the language is not very optimal. I mean, from a perspective of like brain chemistry or something like that. I don't know what affects it. I want to say like everybody learns at a different speed, and you cannot possibly predict how much it will take to learn the language.
That's very true. But I also noticed those students who are not that quick at learning at the beginning, then they get so motivated, then they have even better results than those students who are having classes with me like for a year and they're not even a year higher than they used to be, only because they're feeling lazy. They come to classes like, okay, this is for my hobby. That's it. So the biggest progress makes students who are really motivated. And that's what I'm trying to do with adults. Like, as long as I don't teach teenagers who need this motivation like all the time, I
Mm.
just make adults think that now, as you know English, you can use it anywhere, like at work, at studies. You can even get like a husband from abroad, and girls get so motivated, and they're like,
Ah, okay, yeah, that's
okay. Go.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's the main incentive. Okay, yeah, I see. So could you say it again? So you don't teach teenagers? Am I right? Or
Yeah, I don't
understanding?
teach teenagers, but
Ah,
I have one. I have one teenager, but he's at college and he's studying tourism and he's doing quite well. But still, like it's difficult to make teenagers. I mean, it's good to do it in groups when teenagers are trying to make friends and they're trying to get closer. But individually, it doesn't really make sense.
mm,
Yeah. So
mm.
my target audience is more grown-ups and doesn't matter which age they are, they just
Yeah.
motivated enough to study much well.
I don't know actually. I wouldn't agree about like teenagers. Some of them are very very motivated. For example, I've got one student, I would say two students who I play games in the class. For example, yeah, there is a guy, and sometimes we play Minecraft in the class. Of course, it's in English, and
Oh,
he has pretty good level of English, and I would say this guy is pretty talented because I don't know, he just I don't give him much. It's rather him taking the knowledge from me, you know. So he's not very good at grammar though, so his grammar is all over the place. But the way he constructs sentences is understandable. So he might
yeah.
confuse something, but overall, just I think he would easily just survive in another country. I mean, taking aside other things, not language related. So I wouldn't say that teenagers are not motivated. Some of them really are, and some of them are really smart guys. I mean, when you talk like to them, uh, they feel like they're adults. You know, I feel like I'm talking to an adult person. Like, yeah, I have
Well,
very different
that's true.
experiences.
I guess I have some prejudice about them because I also have this stereotype that girls are more motivated than guys because guys, when they start to have a tutor and they never had it, they're like, oh, I don't care what you're giving me. Like, yeah, I'm telling you that I want to speak. I want to play in an international football team, but I don't know how you'll make it. I'm gonna just sit and listen to
Yeah, yeah.
you.
Teach me, master.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna teach. Yeah, yeah. I have those kind of experiences too, but I'm just trying to make my best to sneak some words into the talk or try to talk about something that they enjoy. So, yeah, to me, that's the key.
Yeah. That's what I usually do in lessons too. So, and I think that's the very right way. So it's nice. I had experience teaching 3 years old, by the way. It
Oh
was
my God.
actually the first target audience of students. And it's so nice. Like I remember you telling, like at the beginning of our lesson, you were telling that those students who are like 5 years old, and if you don't speak their native language with them, it makes no sense. But actually, um, if kids just start to talk and they start to get to know Russian or any other language, and they can do English at the same time, they
Mm.
wouldn't think that it's a foreign language, and there is a whole big method, which is called method say, like it's a Russian person who created this. And you just talk to this. educate in English only, but it takes really long for this kid to say phrases. Like it can, kids can repeat after you, like say this, and they say, but it will take a really long time to make them say, please, Diana, let's do this. Or like, okay, let's go next. They will not say that. I mean, they understand everything. They can watch cartoons in English and they can answer your questions like yes or no, or this color or that color. But that takes a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I see how to be already patient.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I've never had students like that. Probably, um,
yeah.
I would love to. I would love to challenge myself. I think it would be just hell of a task for me. But there is something about.
That's a good idea for business because you can take big money for teaching little kids. At the same time, they like you will have to find many clients. Like if you're located at the same place all the time, you'll have this word of mouth, and everyone will talk about you, and that you're the only one who's teaching little kids, and they
Mm,
will come to your classes like for 1, 2, 3 years anytime.
yeah, yeah. Competition will be lower, that's for sure. But like
Yeah.
money-wise, I'm not sure about that. I don't think that. Yeah, because clients can only give you as much money as they can, regardless of how good you are. So
Oh yeah.
that's yeah. So I don't think.
But this that if you're living in Moscow, for example, if you come to have lessons offline, then why not to take like 2,000 rubles for that? I mean,
Mm,
it really costs so, and people really want their kids to learn. And sometimes when I used to teach, some parents wrote me like, "Do you want to move to our house and to talk to my kid like every day, every hour, like to live with my kid, like to be like a nurse, a babysitter,
yeah, yeah,
speak English to him or her?"
yeah. I had such an offer, by the way. I had to. They were not kids. I would say teens, like 10 years old and 14 years old, and their mom invited me to the countryside. And yeah, she offered me like $1,000, something like that, for a week of living with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was pretty far away, and I was a little bit sketched out. I just was a little bit like comprehensive about that. I was a little bit afraid because I go to the people who I've never met, because I've never met their mother and dad, so I don't know what kind of people they are. So I was like a little bit, no, thank you. I will just let's do that online.
Yeah,
But
like no private
yeah,
life and stuff. The good
yeah,
thing about our profession is that we can manage our time, our students yourself. Like we can control people we're working with.
within reason, yes, yeah. It's not quite true, yeah. On the one hand, you can, but on the other hand, like there is a prime time, right? And you have to be free in this prime time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
also true.
sometimes, yeah, I want to say this, and sometimes you can't go out because you have lesson every other hour. And for example, you just can go out for an hour or so because there is only 1 hour in between and I have like 6 classes. And isn't that flexible?
Yeah,
Not
it
always.
depends on the students. Now I
Yeah.
have this schedule that I work for five maybe hours a day on weekdays and 3 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening are okay. Like during the daytime, I do everything I want to do.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, the one. If I
Yeah.
live in Turkey, I would go to the sea these hours.
Wow, it's so cold in Turkey right now. It's freezing actually. It if I tell you the temperature, you would probably laugh, but it feels very cold. It's +7 now,
Yeah.
but it can get as low as like 0 or maybe -1 at night. And there's no central heating. So yeah, just I'm
No,
wearing hoodie as you can see, and it's still a little bit chill, and I have a heater just in between my legs because it's that cold. It's just yeah, maybe it's just today or something, but yeah, Turkey is the coldest country in the world.
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I wish you could have this central heating. If I move to Turkey, I would definitely choose this 1% of the apartment, which has like gas heating for the whole building.
It's all taken. Good luck with that.
So maybe I will manage to go there just for a few months of living. That would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you can stay there for like 3 months, right? Like you can go 2 months in, and then you have to move the country for one day and get back for another month.
I thought you cannot stay there the amount of days in a year. Like it's not that you can leave the country and come back. It's about how many days you can stay.
It's about both. So, for example, you can stay for 2 months back to back, but after that you'll have to leave. And if you leave and come back, you have another month. And after that, well, yeah, you have to wait for another year to
Yeah,
come.
since they don't give this residence permit, maybe I will go there just to travel.
Well, they do. You have a chance of getting it if you can prove your income. So, do you have a business? I mean, like, mm, so yeah, you're self-employed, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Mm. But for example, if you make a business, um, yeah, if you become an entrepreneur and you can prove your income, you can actually stay in Turkey with new rules.
It's interesting. In Russia, as long as you're self-employed, you cannot get any loans. No, it really helps you. You don't even get this payments,
Mm.
pension.
Payment what?
Yeah, like after you get 60, then you don't get
Like
any money.
pension. Yeah, that's crazy. But on the other hand, you pay like 4% and that's it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking to do that.
Pretty little. In Turkey, it's 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also I heard that when you live abroad for most time of the year, like more than half a year, every year, then you have to pay your like taxes in Russia and in the country you're living in. Like you have this two obligations. I had a student in Germany and she said that she pays 50% of what she earns because she has to pay taxes for both countries. So
Yeah,
she has this residence.
yeah, it's a big chunk. But in Turkey, as far as I know, they don't care, or at least that's what I was told. But again, yeah, that's a lot. I hope I will not have to pay that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah, I see. Okay, all right then. So I think we can stop here. And yeah, thank you for being there. It was incredible to see you on my podcast.
Thank you. And I hope that one day I can say, hey, I'm finally moving to Turkey. Let's meet in Izmir and have a
Yeah,
good podcast.
yeah, yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, take care. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.